Four Towers Films.
Doug 218. What is going on?
It is Sunday night, and we are here recapping another episode of Masterchef Canada Back to Win, episode number 5. And it is the first Mystery Box Challenge. It's funny that it's 5th episode, and it's the first Mystery Box.
So, this one's a little different. And they all come in, they're all excited. Oh yeah, the mystery box. And they're like, and they congratulated them all for making it through the previous week. And now they do the whole countdown. 1, 2, 3, lift.
Well, because they're saying it's the first mystery box. So as you know, they have the boxes on each of their stations. And they talk about they're wanting to do comfort food this week. Now, most of them are thinking, your typical comfort food. And then, so when they lift the box, they're finding out it's actually a vegan challenge. So, they're using, all these different ingredients of that are, you can use in plant-based, or all plant-based. Including the butter, which is a new product from Basil.
And they're the sponsor of this challenge, and also the added bonus, if you remember, was that whoever won this mystery box, their recipe would be on the Basil website.
Right. Yeah.
So added pressure.
Well, added pressure, and then of course you want the recipe on the site. Because remember, I guess it was the last season that Thea was on, she won a similar challenge.
Yes, with the recipe, got her recipe with Jamie Oliver.
With Jamie Oliver, yeah.
Yeah.
And she won that one, so she's hoping, of course, like they all are, to win this one, so.
So it's like, the two people that really, they're kind of swung. Barry at first was like, I don't know what to do with any of this.
Well, because like he's saying, none of the ingredients are familiar to him.
Because he's a meat guy.
All right. He hasn't really ever cooked plant-based before, so...
Okay. Challenge. So they begin to think, right, okay, so Christopher's like, okay, I'm going to do, because he's...
dessert.
A dessert. Hey, you go with your strong suit.
Right.
And he's going to do a vegan version of a Vietnamese tofu pudding.
Right.
So he's like, I should be able to...
Basically a panna cotta is really what he made.
And so he's like, I'm thinking I'm going to be able to click this out.
And ice cream.
What some of these guys were able to pull out. Andrew, what sent him home in season 2 was his dessert.
Right.
So he's like, I'm going to see if lightning will strike twice, and I can actually pull off a successful dessert. So he's like, I'm going to do a peaches and cream with a vegan creme anglaise.
Right.
Good luck. Andy, he says, the first thing that he asked his daughter, what do you want Daddy to cook?
She wanted him to cook a chocolate cake.
So, Andy, for his little girl, is making a vegan chocolate cake. Tia's kind of comfort food was pasta. So she replicated. It looked like almost like a ravioli. Forgive me. I couldn't catch the name of it.
Angilotti. Yeah. Like she initially had said her comfort food was, I believe, spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, she made, I believe it's angilotti.
And
vegan style. And she said it's a little easier for her because she does cook plant-based at home.
Yeah.
So it's something that's not new to her to cook.
So Andre decides, okay, I'm going to do a vegan Jamaican chorizo patty.
Yeah, Jamaican patty, yeah.
Which is, and I love Jamaican patties.
Yes, that's true.
I can't eat the spicy ones, no, but I like the mild ones.
Right.
So I was kind of curious to see how it would turn out.
Yeah.
Marissa's was a Mediterranean dish. I didn't catch the name of the one component, but it had falafel. And it's something. I'm sorry, guys. It was. She said it so softly, I couldn't really catch the name of it. But it was the one that. She said it was comfort food for her and her partner to go to a park and eat.
It was like yeah, of the falafel.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they almost look like little dumplings too, but they weren't dumplings that they would take to the park to eat.
And May, the dumpling queen,
made dumplings.
but
she made it like carrot cake dumplings.
So
they were sweet.
That was interesting to see what's coming out.
Yeah, and then with creme anglaise sauce.
And Barry did a vegan
meat pie. Yeah, but the thing was, he made the meat pie, and then he did different ramekins of condiments.
Yeah.
So, which was interesting.
It looked...
When you think of meat pie, though, I don't think of condiments going with it.
No.
It's usually like the meat pie, you might have a side dish, but you don't typically have condiments with it. So, that was kind of, I don't know, strange.
Jeremy did a version of a Filipino spring roll.
Right.
Which usually would, but...
which was called a lumpia.
And it would contain pork. But
right.
Because it's a plant-based challenge, he had to substitute that. Now everyone's struggling.
And it's most of them are using the same, like Marissa, I believe, like Jeremy, and I believe Barry. I forget. It's an alternative. I think they call it TVP.
Yeah.
They set the name full out, but basically it's
a vegetable protein.
It's a vegetable protein that's like a bean, which can mimic like ground beef or meat. And so the three of them used it, and Jeremy, I think, did okay with it, but the other two, Marissa and Barry, had a little bit of struggle with the texture and the moistness.
So,
with them.
like, and it's clicking down to the last minute, and you can see some of them are not comfortable cooking vegan food, and they get the final countdown.
Well, Christopher with his panna cotta.
Yeah, 30 minutes before judging, he's like, "Oh, I need to get it cool."
So what's interesting is he didn't think it's set properly, but they thought it's set okay. Like, they were okay with the texture of it. Yeah. So I think because he didn't do it in a big ramekin, he actually took little bits of it and put it in with the rest, like with the ice cream and stuff, so it mixed well.
Okay, so we
so the judging begins.
Let the judging begin. So Jeremy is called up first and they try his interpretation of the spring roll. Michael had great comments about the flavor, the taste. He said your plating, he's elevated it for every time he's come back.
Yeah.
So we're 5 episodes in, and he's upped his plating game.
Right.
So you see Jeremy, the smile starting to creep across Jeremy's face.
Mm-hmm.
And Alvin had no complaints about it whatsoever. He's like, why did you use these noodles, and asking technical questions, because he used a rice noodle to carry it, and he thought it would be an elevated way to do this because dumpling wrappers contain egg.
Right, and it can't use that.
Can't use it.
And at first he had a little bit of technical problem with it because it wasn't rolling properly and it was starting to kind of break apart. But then he figured it out.
He added cornstarch to it.
Right. So it kind of thickened it and it strengthened it somewhat and it worked for him.
And they said, kudos to him.
It looked like spring roll too.
It did.
Yeah.
Andre gets...
That's outside the box.
Way outside the box. Andre gets called up. Now, Andre, his past season, he was like the one to watch kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So he gets called up, and Alvin's like, looks great, but the filling's dry.
He was one of the ones who used that TVP.
He's like, with Jamaican patties, the meat gives a little moisture.
Right.
If you had found some way to incorporate something that would give that
same kind of moisture
to it, he goes, it would have been fabulous.
Yeah. But it was a bit dry.
It was a little bit dry. Andy gets called up. Andy did the chocolate cake, like you remember.
Right. But he kind of deconstructed it. Instead of, he initially was going to do it layered, but instead he decided to kind of make it almost look like a crumble in a way.
Kind of looked like somebody had dropped it.
Yeah, and then smeared it, kind of thing. And then he used beans with it too.
Yeah, to give that
give a bit more texture, crunchiness to it,
and
they liked it.
Michael had nothing but glowing comments. Yeah. He goes, "It's very modern looking, and the way you accented the texture of it, added more of a pop to this chocolate cake."
Right.
He goes, "You can tell your daughter,
It's a way to honor his daughter.
Yeah,
it's a good way to honor his daughter, basically."
And he more or less told him, "You did a phenomenal job to do it."
Yeah.
Thea, she did the pasta dish.
Right.
So, our two resident Italian gentlemen step up. Claudio was like, "It's perfect." The pasta is almost translucent, and it's amazing you could do this without egg. So it shows she had skill.
And they thought that they liked the filling.
Yeah.
And thought there was a perfect amount. It was like I think it was Michael said, it couldn't have been filled anymore. It was pretty filled.
Then we come to Barry with his vegan meat pie. Not good.
Well,
Not good.
The crust was kind of pale, and Michael said he could have used like a substitute for an egg wash. I forget what it was that he said. I want to say almond milk, but I don't think it's almond milk.
Almond oil, or
maybe like an oil that would have
darkened the crust.
And like a substitute an egg wash. And plus, he said the meat was dry. Well, the meat was dry. And like Claudio, like we're saying with the ramekins, he had about four or five ramekins, and they said usually when you see that many ramekins with the dish, then you've lost kind of your concept a little bit, and
very true,
that you're not really sure what you want to do with it. So.
And he echoed the same comment that Michael said, like the filling was bland,
and dry.
Now, Andrew, who we said earlier in this episode, he thought he'd try it again. He was going to do a dessert.
Right.
And he brought it up, and Claudio had nothing but high praise. Gave him the best compliment ever. This is a 3 Michelin star dish, but
it looks like it. Yeah.
And then he hits him with this, "But you made a mistake."
Well, he made an error in judgment.
Because he said, I'm not really a dessert guy.
Well, yeah, because like you said, you're not a pastry chef, and he goes, no. And he's always kind of said that. He's not really a dessert guy. That's not his forte.
Yeah, it's not my thing, yeah.
And so Claudio is basically saying, you made an error in judgment, that stop more or less putting yourself down, because this is
it's phenomenal.
It's a very good dish, so don't say that you can't do dessert dishes anymore.
But it was funny how it was edited, and it's like you made
it. Because the commercial.
And it's like, and you're thinking, oh God, what? What's the downswing? So everyone else was like, good job, man, good job.
It looked pretty.
It did look pretty. Now May, our dumpling queen, she presents her carrot cake dumpling. Claudio said the flavor was great, but he's like, it's beige.
Yeah.
The sauce.
Well, she goes, the color's on the inside.
And he's like, one thing, maybe tweak a little bit, maybe use the juice of the carrot.
On the outside, yeah.
For like the dumpling itself.
And there was obviously the carrot on the inside, so you had the color in the inside. And they actually liked the flavor because they said it tastes like carrot cake.
Yeah. Both Claudio and Michael said
Yeah.
it was fabulous. You know. Now, Christopher, our resident dessert guy,
Yep.
he gets up there, and you could see he's kind of like, oh God, oh God, oh God, please let this be all right. His dessert. Michael had, like, said the panna cotta was good, the tastes were on point.
Yeah.
You know, you really show what your strong suit
They
is.
like the ice cream.
You know.
And he also used meringue shards too in it as well. And I mean, none of these are that easy to make without eggs or milk.
No.
Yet he pulled it off. They like the flavor and the textures. So.
And Alvin's like, you know, this takes me back because Alvin's Asian as well, and he's like,
yeah, because he's saying he did this just because that's what he remembers his mom making, and they're both Chinese of Chinese descent. And so Alvin said that reminds him of his childhood too.
Yeah. And so he's like, you know, it takes me back, you know. Yeah. My childhood's a little farther back than yours. So he walked away from the judging, smiling ear to ear. Marissa came up. Michael had, you know, it was kind of a mixed good, bad kind of.
They liked the flavors, but they didn't.
The one component was kind of gummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the TVP again. There was a few who had trouble with it.
And,
especially if you haven't worked with it before.
And, you know, then Alvin came up and tasted as well, and he goes, you know, it tastes great. But, you know how they say, is that enough?
Well, like they said, you're cooking at a different level, and you've got such a high competition at this point, so it's harder to kind of. You really have to up your game.
Yeah, there's nowhere really to hide.
There's no room for error. At this point,
So they've judged everyone. They've pulled back, and they're conferring. They say, "Okay, we've made a decision. The winner of this challenge is Andrew." So he gets his peaches and cream on the base Cell website, and he gets an advantage in the next challenge,
which is an elimination challenge.
But
we don't really. They didn't say. I don't think what the advantage was. So.
And the video package at the end didn't show enough to really.
Just kind of a highlight
clip.
A little bit of it, but they didn't show what the advantage was. So.
And the two that were the lowest were, and we kind of figured this anyways.
Yeah.
Was Barry and Marissa.
Right.
And it was just minute details and.
Mostly because, like they said, the one component on Marissa's they believe was gummy, and Barry was kind of bland.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really not a surprise. It ended up being Barry who went home, and he said he was okay with it. You know, he figured it was
my time to go.
You know, but he said he felt honored that he had been asked back.
Well, and Michael said before he left, you know, we know your nickname's the Bear, but how many lives you've had in this?
You should be a cat.
You should be the cat.
Right, because he's been back so many times.
And they asked him, "You're the most out of all of them. You're the most qualified to ask this question because he was a professional chef before he had gotten sick."
I guess. I think.
And they asked him, "Who do you think will win this?"
He said he thought it'd be Jeremy.
He's like, the kid's got moves.
Maybe. We'll see. He's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But there's other ones doing pretty well, too. We'll see what happens as the time goes along.
So what'd you think of the episode?
It was interesting. I mean, it was because it gave them something that was different.
Yeah.
In regards to comfort food than you would normally think about with comfort food. But, I mean, it's interesting because there's a lot of vegans or those who can't eat dairy for whatever reason. And so it kind of can give them some ideas of what to do as well. So it was good to see, like, comfort foods, not just like meat or potatoes or things like chocolate cake or whatever, but you can do this as well. And you can actually make what you would consider, like, you know, dumplings or meat pie, but with alternatives. So it was interesting. What do you think?
It was great to see them, like, this season especially, they're really pushing them harder than they have in other seasons. And
well, yeah, because it's like an all-star season, so it's harder.
It's nice to see them rising to those challenges, and it's nice to see vegetarian cuisine kind of getting the spotlight shined on it. Right. And even with
technically it's vegan, but you know, no milk or eggs.
But it showed what you can accomplish with outside the traditional sense.
Like with the competition, there's very little room for error. So I mean, that's why it's a harder year.
Yeah.
Because there's, unlike other seasons where, that's not MasterChef quality or whatever, it's nitpicky kind of things that are sending people home. It's very little small, minute details, and so that's what makes it a harder competition this year.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide.
So it makes it an interesting year.
So I'm curious to see what the elimination challenge will be next week.
We didn't really get to see what the challenge was, just them kind of cooking. So we'll see you next week.
I hope you'll have me back next week.
Of course. And I hope you guys will be back. Maybe you can catch us live next week. It's usually right after the show airs. Here in the Eastern time zone, it's 9. So whatever time it is for you, Western time zone, it'd be 6. So, but or maybe not. But if it's live, it'd be about 7 your time. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. And we will see you next week. Have a great week, guys. Bye.